Quick like and subscribe if you enjoy my content. My name is Dylan. I'm 37 years old, and I work as a quality control inspector for a pharmaceutical manufacturing company in Portland, Oregon. I spend my days monitoring processes, identifying deviations from established patterns, and flagging when something that's been consistent for years suddenly changes without explanation. When a manufacturing process that's run the same way for a decade suddenly shifts, that's a red flag. It means something in the system has changed. And in my experience, unexplained changes usually indicate a problem. I never thought I need to apply that same analytical thinking to my marriage. But when your wife of 10 years suddenly starts using mouthwash before bed, something she's never done in your entire relationship, you notice. And when you start paying attention, you realize that one small change is connected to a dozen others. My wife Natalie started using mouthwash before bed 2 months ago. In 10 years of marriage, she'd never done that once. That single deviation from our established routine revealed an affair that had been going on for 4 months. I met Natalie 11 years ago at a friend's wedding in Eugene. She was working as a high school English teacher, thoughtful and creative in ways I wasn't. I was the science-minded quality control guy, methodical and precise. We complemented each other perfectly. We got married 10 years ago, bought a house in the Hawthorne district of Portland, a 1920s bungalow with character and charm. Natalie continued teaching English at a local high school. I advanced to senior QC inspector. Combined income around $155,000. We were stable, comfortable, planning eventually to start a family. For 10 years, we had routines. Everyone in a long-term relationship does. You fall into patterns, establish habits, create a rhythm that becomes the foundation of your daily life. One of those patterns was our nighttime routine. Every night for 10 years, the same sequence. We'd get ready for bed around 10 p.m. Natalie would brush her teeth. I'd brush mine. We'd both wash our faces, and we'd go to bed. Simple, consistent, unchanged for a decade. Natalie had never used mouthwash. Not once in 10 years. She'd brush her teeth thoroughly, 2 minutes, just like dentists recommend, but no mouthwash. When I'd ask about it years ago, she'd say it was too intense, that she didn't like the burning sensation. I brush well enough, she'd say. I don't need mouthwash. For 10 years, that was our routine. Then 2 months ago, I noticed a bottle of mouthwash on the bathroom counter. Listerine Cool Mint. Brand new, mostly full. Did you buy mouthwash? I asked that evening. Yeah, thought I'd start using it. Better for oral health. You've never used mouthwash before. I know. I'm trying to take better care of my teeth. It seemed reasonable. People do decide to improve their habits. I didn't think much about it. But then I noticed she only used it at night. Right before bed, she'd brush her teeth, then use mouthwash, swishing for a full 30 seconds like the bottle recommended. And she'd started closing the bathroom door while she did it. For 10 years, we'd never closed the bathroom door during our nighttime routine. It was just us, no reason for privacy. Now the door was closed. Every night. Why are you closing the door? I asked one evening. What? The bathroom door. You're closing it now when you get ready for bed. I don't know. Does it matter? No, it's just different. Well, I'm allowed to close the door in my own house. There was an edge to her voice that hadn't been there before. Over the following weeks, I noticed other changes. Small deviations from our established patterns. Natalie had started doing laundry more frequently. She'd always done laundry on weekends, Saturday or Sunday mornings, like clockwork. But suddenly she was doing loads during the week, in the evenings after I'd gone to bed. You're doing laundry at 11 p.m.? I asked one Tuesday when I heard the washing machine running. Just had some things I needed to wash. Go back to sleep. Her phone behavior had changed. She'd always been casual about her phone, would leave it on the counter, wouldn't care if I picked it up. But now she carried it everywhere. To the bathroom, to the kitchen when she got water, outside when she checked the mail. And she'd change her lock screen password. For 10 years, it had been our wedding anniversary. I knew it. She knew I knew it. We'd never hidden our phones from each other. One evening, I picked up her phone to check the time when mine was charging. The screen showed a password prompt I didn't recognize. Did you change your password? I asked. Oh yeah, I had a security warning from my bank. They recommended changing all my passwords. To what? I used a random generator. Easier to keep track of them all that way. She took the phone from my hand. Not aggressively, but deliberately. Like she didn't want me holding it. The physical intimacy between us had decreased. We'd always had a healthy, intimate life. Not every night, but regularly. But over the past 2 months, it had dropped off significantly. Not tonight. I'm exhausted, became her standard response. But she didn't seem exhausted. She seemed distracted, like her mind was elsewhere. And through all these changes, the mouthwash, the closed door, the late-night laundry, the phone behavior, the decreased intimacy, I kept thinking about my work. About how when a process that's been stable for years suddenly shows multiple deviations, you don't just have one anomaly. You have a systematic change that indicates something fundamental has shifted. One evening, about 6 weeks into the mouthwash routine, I came home from work early. My shift had ended at 3 p.m. instead of 5 p.m. due to a scheduled equipment maintenance shutdown. I walked into our house around 3:30 p.m. Natalie's car was in the driveway. School ended at 3 o'clock, so she would have just gotten home. "Natalie," I called out. No answer. I walked through the house. She wasn't in the living room or kitchen. I heard water running upstairs. The shower. I went upstairs and knocked on the bathroom door. "Hey, you're home early too?" "Yeah," she called through the door. "Got out early today. Teacher planning day. Want to grab dinner out? Since we're both home early." "Sure. Just let me finish up." I went to our bedroom to change out of my work clothes. That's when I noticed something on our bed. A wet towel. A wet towel on our bed. Still damp. I picked it up. It was definitely wet. Recently used. But Natalie was in the shower right now. So this towel was from before the current shower. Why had she showered twice? I heard the water shut off. Heard the bathroom door open. Natalie came into the bedroom, wrapped in a towel, hair wet. "That was quick," I said. "What?" "Your shower. You just got in." "Oh, yeah. Just rinsing off. Long day." I held up the wet towel from the bed. This towel was already wet. "Did you shower when you got home?" She looked at the towel. Something crossed her face. Calculation, decision. I went for a run after school. Showered when I got home. But then I felt like I hadn't rinsed all the soap off, so I got back in. "You went for a run?" "Yeah. Trying to exercise more." "You're not wearing running clothes." She looked down at herself. Wrapped in a towel, but I could see her regular work clothes on the floor near the hamper. Black pants, blue blouse. Her teaching clothes. "I changed after the run," she said quickly. "Into your work clothes?" "No. I changed out of running clothes into these, then showered again." It didn't make sense. The timeline didn't work. But she was sticking to it. "Okay," I said. "I'll let you get dressed. Let me know when you're ready for dinner." I went downstairs, but my mind was racing. 2 showers. A wet towel left on the bed. An explanation that didn't align with the evidence. And all of this connected to the other changes: the mouthwash, the closed bathroom door, the phone security, the late-night laundry. In quality control, when you see multiple deviations from the established process, you don't treat them as isolated incidents. You look for the root cause, the underlying change that's causing all the other anomalies. I sat in our living room and started thinking like a QC inspector instead of husband. Deviation 1. Started using mouthwash before bed after 10 years of never using it. Deviation 2. Started closing bathroom door during nighttime routine. Deviation 3. Changed phone password and became protective of phone. Deviation 4. Started doing laundry at unusual times. Deviation 5. Decreased physical intimacy. Deviation 6. Showering immediately after coming home instead of before bed. These weren't random changes. They were connected. There was a root cause. And in my experience, when someone suddenly becomes very concerned about oral hygiene before bed, starts showering immediately after coming home, and becomes protective of their phone, the root cause is usually another person. That evening at dinner, I watched Natalie carefully. She was acting normal, happy even, talking about her students, a funny story from class, plans for the weekend. But I kept thinking about the wet towel, about the shower timeline that didn't make sense, about the mouthwash she never used before. After dinner, during our usual nighttime routine, Natalie went to the bathroom, closed the door. I heard the water running, brushing teeth. Then silence. Then the sound of mouthwash swishing. 30 seconds. Just like the bottle recommended. She came out, went to bed, kissed me goodnight. Love you, she said. Love you too. But I lay awake for a long time, thinking about patterns, about deviations, about what they indicated. The next day at work, I couldn't focus. I kept thinking about the changes in Natalie's behavior, about how to verify what I suspected without jumping to conclusions. During my lunch break, I did something I'm not proud of. I logged into our cell phone account online. We were on a shared family plan, and I had access to view usage details. I pulled up Natalie's call and text logs. There was one number she'd been communicating with constantly. Multiple texts per day, going back 4 months. Phone calls lasting 20, 30, sometimes 45 minutes. I didn't recognize the number. I called it from my office phone, blocking my caller ID. A man answered. Hello. Hi. Is this the Hawthorne Fitness Center? I asked, making up a name. No, you've got the wrong number. This is Kevin. Sorry about that. I hung up. Kevin. Natalie had been texting and calling someone named Kevin dozens of times per day for 4 months. I went back to the phone logs and looked at the patterns. Most of the calls happened in the early afternoon, right after school would end, or in the evening, between 7 and 9 p.m., times when I was usually upstairs reading or watching TV. The texts were constant. Morning, afternoon, evening, sometimes as late as 11 p.m. I pulled up Kevin's number on Facebook using the reverse phone lookup feature. Found a profile. Kevin Martinez. Age 34. Middle school PE teacher. Based in Portland. A teacher. Natalie was a teacher. They'd probably met through work, district meetings, collaborative projects, something like that. I looked through Kevin's public photos. Found one from 3 months ago. A group shot from what looked like a teacher's conference. There were about 15 people in the photo. And there, in the back row, was Natalie, standing next to Kevin, both smiling. I'd found him. Kevin Martinez. The person Natalie had been texting and calling for 4 months. The root cause of all the deviations in our routine. That evening, I came home at my normal time. Natalie was already there, in the kitchen, making dinner. How was your day? She asked. Interesting. Can we talk after dinner? Sure. Everything okay? We'll talk after. We ate mostly in silence. Natalie kept asking if something was wrong. I kept saying we'd talk after. After we cleaned up, we sat in the living room. What's going on? Natalie asked. I want to ask you something, and I need an honest answer. Okay. Who is Kevin Martinez? Her face went pale. What? Kevin Martinez. PE teacher. You've been texting and calling him dozens of times a day for 4 months. Who is he? How did you? I checked her phone records. Saw a number you've been communicating with constantly. Called it. Man named Kevin answered. Looked him up on Facebook. Found him. Found a photo of you two together at a teacher's conference. She looked down at her hands. I'll ask again. Who is Kevin Martinez? He's a teacher I met at a district training. We became friends. Friends who text 40 times a day. She didn't answer. Natalie, I'm not stupid. You've been showing classic signs of an affair for 2 months. Changed routines. Increased privacy. Showering right after coming home. And now I find out you've been in constant contact with another man for 4 months. It's not. And the mouthwash, I continued. That's what made me start paying attention. You've never used mouthwash in 10 years. Then suddenly 2 months ago, you start using it every night before bed. You know why people suddenly become concerned about oral hygiene? When they're kissing someone new and don't want them to smell anything off. Tears started falling down her face. The closed bathroom door. The changed phone password. The showering immediately after coming home. The wet towel on our bed today. All of it points to the same conclusion. Dylan, are you sleeping with Kevin Martinez? She nodded. Still crying, but she nodded. How long? 2 months. 2 months. Since you started using the mouthwash. Yes. The mouthwash is for him. You brush your teeth and use mouthwash before bed with me, so I won't smell that you've been kissing him. She nodded again. In the shower today. That was after being with him. Yes. I met him after school. At his apartment. Then I came home and showered. And last night, the late night laundry? That's to wash clothes quickly so I won't notice anything. Yes. I sat back on the couch. I'm a quality control inspector. My job is to identify when processes deviate from their established patterns. When something that's been consistent for years suddenly changes, that's a red flag. It means something in the system has broken. I looked at her. You started using mouthwash after 10 years. That was the first deviation. Everything else confirmed what that change suggested. I'm sorry. How did you meet him? District training in March. We just connected, started talking, became friends. Then it became more. 4 months of talking, 2 months of physical affair. Yes, and you've been lying to me every day, every night when you use that mouthwash, when you close the bathroom door, so I won't see you preparing to kiss me after you've been with him. You've been lying. She had no response. I stood up. I'm filing for divorce. I can't be married to someone who's been lying to me for 4 months while using mouthwash to cover up an affair. Please, can we talk about this? There's nothing to talk about. You've been with Kevin for 2 months. You've been hiding it using our nightly routine as cover. Every time you used that mouthwash, you were preparing to lie to me. That's not a marriage. I went upstairs and packed a bag, called my friend Marcus, and asked if I could stay at his place for a few days. When I came back down, Natalie was still on the couch, crying. I'll have my attorney contact you, I said. I want you to know, it was the mouthwash that gave you away. That one small change after 10 years. Everything else just confirmed it. I left, spent the night at Marcus's place, processing everything. I filed for divorce Monday morning. My attorney was named Sarah Chun, specialized in family law. My wife has been having an affair for 2 months. I told her. I have phone records showing months of communication with her affair partner. I have evidence of changed routines and behaviors. And I have her admission that she's been sleeping with him. That's strong evidence. What's the financial situation? We own a house jointly. I paid 60% of the down payment from savings I had before marriage. We've split the mortgage payments, but I've contributed slightly more because I make more. Oregon is an equitable distribution state. Given the affair and your larger financial contribution, we can argue for a favorable division. Natalie was served with papers Tuesday afternoon at school. She called me immediately. You're really doing this? You've been sleeping with Kevin for 2 months while using mouthwash to hide the fact you've been kissing him. Yes, I'm really doing this. I ended it with Kevin. I told him it's over. We can fix this. I don't care if you ended it. You lied to me for 4 months. You changed our 10-year routine to accommodate an affair. You used mouthwash, something you've never done in a decade, to cover up that you'd been with someone else. That's not fixable. I made a mistake. You made hundreds of mistakes. Every text to Kevin, every meeting with him, every time you used that mouthwash before kissing me goodnight. Those were all choices. We settled after 6 weeks. I kept the house. My larger down payment contribution and the affair gave me leverage. We split other assets proportionally based on contributions. No alimony. 10 years of marriage ended because she started using mouthwash. I heard what happened afterward through mutual friends. Natalie tried to continue things with Kevin. It lasted about 5 weeks after the divorce was filed. Turned out Kevin hadn't known Natalie was still living with me during their affair. She'd told him we were separated and I'd moved out. When he found out she'd been going home to me every night, using mouthwash so I wouldn't smell him on her, he ended things. He didn't want to be with someone who'd lied that extensively to her husband while lying to him too. Natalie moved into an apartment in Southeast Portland, transferred to a different school to avoid Kevin and the fallout from the affair. She tried to reach out about a year after the divorce. A long email about how I'd been obsessive about the mouthwash, how I'd overanalyzed small changes, how I treated our marriage like a quality control process. I replied with one line, "That's exactly what I did." And the process showed a critical deviation. You. Then I blocked her. I kept the house in Hawthorne, removed all traces of Natalie, made it mine. About 18 months after the divorce, I met someone at a friend's dinner party. Her name was Claire. She was a research scientist, understood systematic thinking, appreciated attention to detail. On our third date, she asked about my divorce. My ex-wife started using mouthwash before bed after 10 years of never using it. That one change made me start noticing other deviations. Turned out she was having an affair, and the mouthwash was to make sure I wouldn't smell the other guy when she kissed me goodnight. Claire's eyes widened. She used mouthwash to cover up an affair. She used it to make sure her breath was fresh before bed, because she'd been kissing someone else and didn't want me to notice. In 10 years together, she'd never used mouthwash once. Suddenly, she starts using it every night, closing the bathroom door, being very deliberate about it. That was the first sign something had changed. Most people wouldn't notice something that small. I'm a quality control inspector. I notice when processes deviate from established patterns. Our nighttime routine had been identical for 10 years. When she suddenly added mouthwash and started closing the door, that was a deviation. And deviations indicate problems. What did she say when you confronted her? She admitted to a 2-month physical affair and 4 months of emotional involvement. Said the mouthwash was exactly what I thought, to make sure I wouldn't smell anything when she kissed me goodnight after being with him. Claire shook her head. That's calculated. It was. Every night, she'd brush her teeth, use mouthwash, close the door so I wouldn't see the routine, then come to bed and kiss me like everything was normal. For 2 months. We've been together for over a year now. Claire has her own nighttime routine. It's been consistent since we met. No sudden additions, no unexplained changes. Just stability, which it turns out is what I need. My wife started using mouthwash before bed, after 10 years of never using it once. And that single deviation from our established routine, that one small change in a pattern that had been consistent for a decade, revealed everything I needed to know. She was kissing someone else, and she needed her breath to be fresh before coming to bed with me. Some people said I was too analytical, that I treated my marriage like a quality control process, that noticing something as small as mouthwash usage was obsessive. But those people don't work in quality control, don't understand that small deviations indicate larger problems, don't know that when a process that's been stable for years suddenly changes, you investigate the root cause. The mouthwash was just the indicator, the visible sign that something fundamental had shifted. Everything else, the closed door, the changed password, the immediate showers, the late-night laundry, just confirmed what that one small change had suggested. She started using mouthwash after 10 years. And I noticed, because that's what I do. I notice when things change without explanation. And when I investigated why, I found exactly what that change indicated. An affair, hidden in plain sight, masked by minty fresh breath.